I'm Elizabeth at Literary Princess, and today I have my July TBR. So, July is Jane Austen July. This is an event hosted by Katie from Books and Things, Marissa from Blatantly Bookish, and Claudia from Spinster's Library. And it's all about reading Jane Austen and the works surrounding Jane Austen. So, I am going to be participating, and there are 7 challenges. I'm not doing all of them because unfortunately I can't devote my full month to Jane Austen as much as I would love to. I do have this whole dissertation thing that I need to do, and I had a few other books that I planned to read in July anyway. I will mention when the books correspond with a challenge. I also do have some videos in here for Jane Austen July. And we will start with the Jane Austen July books, and then after we will have the non-Jane Austen July books. Let's jump in. So the first challenge is to read one of Jane Austen's main novels. And for this, I am reading Mansfield Park. Or I guess I should say I am rereading Mansfield Park. Mansfield Park is my least favorite Jane Austen novel. I think a lot of people feel that way, although I know there are many people who love it. Katie from Books and Things adores it. And I really want to revisit it and see if maybe I like it more as an adult, because I was a teenager when I read it last. And I think this is probably not the most exciting book for a 19-year-old to be reading. So I do want to revisit it and see if I like it more. I mean, I say it's my least favorite. I'm still pretty sure I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. I don't think that if I read it now and felt the same way about it as I did then, I would give it 5 stars. I think I probably would have given it 4, but maybe I'll read it and adore it this time. We're going to find out. The next challenge is to read something from Jane Austen other than her main novels. So this could include her many youthful writings, her short novel Lady Susan, her letters, any of that. I am going to be reading from her juvenilia. I have this little collection called Volume the Second, and I'm particularly going to be reading Love and Friendship. This is an epistolary novel that she wrote when she was quite young, and I have not read it. I have not read anything in here, mostly because, let me see if I can find a good example for you. The pages have not all been cut in this, and I'm afraid of it because of that. I bought this or I should say my father bought this for me in a bookstore in Boston that sold kind of rare and antique books. This was only from the 60s, so it's not that rare, but yeah, the pages aren't all cut, and I never really knew what to do with that, so I just kind of left it alone. So I guess I'm gonna have to cut the pages or get somebody to cut the pages for me, which sounds like a much better idea. But yes, I do want to read Love and Friendship. It is one of the books that is on my list of 50 books to read in 2023, so I would love to give it a little check off. So yeah. The third challenge is to read a nonfiction work about Jane Austen or her time. And for this, I'm going to be reading A Memoir of Jane Austen and Other Family Recollections by J.E. Austen Lee. So this was her nephew, I think. Yes, James Edward Austen Lee's memoir of his aunt Jane Austen was published in 1870, over 50 years after her death. This is actually a copy that belongs to one of my friends, and she lent it to me multiple months ago, so I should probably get it back to her. And this is the perfect time to read it. I don't know how accurate this all is in relation to her life, because I have not actually read a full biography of Jane Austen. I would love to also read Claire Tomalin's Jane Austen A Life this month, but I don't think I'm going to have time. So I'm just going to read this, and then maybe next year for Claire Tomalin. All right, I am now skipping down to the 5th challenge, which is to read a book by a contemporary of Jane Austen's. And for this, I'm going to be reading The Wild Irish Girl by Sydney Owenson, Lady Morgan. This was another one that was lent to me by a different friend, but that I do want to read and get back to her. This was published in 1806, so right smack when Jane Austen was. And it is about Horatio, the son of an English lord who is banished to his father's Irish estate as punishment. And then I'm guessing he meets, yes, Glorvina, daughter of a deposed king. And I'm gonna guess that they fall in love, and yeah. This sounds really good. I have read one of Sydney Owens and Lady Morgan's books before, The Missionary. It was not my favorite, but the content of this sounds more up my alley. So hopefully I will enjoy this. All right, and then the sixth challenge is to watch a direct screen adaptation of a Jane Austen book. So I have 3 options for this one, and I'm not sure which I'm gonna go with. So the first one would be Northanger Abbey. This is the 2007? 2006 or 7. I think it was ITV that originally did it, but then it was on PBS's Masterpiece Theater. I don't think I saw this, or maybe I didn't see all of it but saw part of it. I don't know. I think this would be a good option because A, I potentially have not seen it, and B, the group read that I'm not participating in is Northanger Abbey, so this could kind of be my way of participating a little bit. I love Northanger Abbey. Honestly, it's quite up there for me in the favorite Jane Austen books lineup. I think it's hilarious. So I am excited to see an adaptation of it. I think this would be a good time. Another option would be Persuasion. I've definitely seen this multiple times. This is a BBC 2007, somewhere around then. Why do they not just put the year on here? Anyway, Persuasion is my favorite Jane Austen novel. I have definitely seen this multiple times though, so maybe I won't watch it this time. I don't know. And then the last option would be Sense and Sensibility, also the BBC. I don't even know what year this was anymore. I don't know. But I've seen this multiple times as well, really enjoyed it. I just reread Sense and Sensibility last year, so it would be fun to rewatch it. I am far more familiar with the Kate Winslet and Emma Thompson movie, so it would be fun to rewatch this version. However, it of course all depends on what my husband would be up for watching, because we pretty much only watch TV together. So we'll see what I can convince him sounds better. And he might be like, no, none of those, Elizabeth. And then I might have to plan a guy's night for him and get him out of the house. So that is everything that I have on my Jane Austen July TBR. Let's go to my non-Jane Austen July reads. First up is one by probably my favorite contemporary author. This is Cujo by Stephen King. So I have not read this before. I've read a lot of Stephen King books, but not this. And AJ over at AJ Dunn Reads and Writes, I watched their Stephen King reading project video on this, and they really liked this and highly recommended it. And they also recommended to read it in the dead of summer. So I am expecting July to be hot, although you never know with the New England weather. It kind of just does what it wants. But July seemed like a good month to read Cujo. I also very much associate Stephen King with summer. I don't know why. I think there's a few of his books that I've read that are set in the summer, and he just feels very summer to me, as well as obviously Halloween because horror. But I'm kind of nervous about this book because I'm a big animal lover and I cry when dogs die, or cats, or bunnies, or any kind of animal. I cry when they die. So I imagine this is going to make me very emotional. However, I do want to see what AJ was talking about, and I'm excited for this. Also, can we just... Dude, that is a beard. Next up is one for my dissertation with no real cover because it's a library book. This is Literary Women by Ellen Moers, I guess it would be pronounced, M-O-E-R-S. So this is exactly what it says. Literary woman. It's looking at the history and the tradition. It's looking at heroism as portrayed by women writers. So obviously I'm writing about Victorian women writers for my dissertation. This seemed like it would be helpful. It has also been mentioned in a lot of the other literary criticism I'm reading, so I figured I would give it a read and see if it had anything useful. And the next one is also for my dissertation. This is Mrs. Oliphant, A Fiction to Herself, A Literary Life by Elizabeth J. So in June, I have not read yet, but will hopefully be reading Margaret Oliphant's autobiography. And of course, then I want to read a contemporary biography to see what was left out of the autobiography and kind of get the full story. I actually have a few Margaret Oliphant biographies that I want to read, but Elizabeth J has written several other pieces of scholarly work that I've read and liked, so I wanted to read hers first. So this next one is unrelated to anything that I am really doing, other than I decided I wanted to be a poetry person. This is The Discovery of Poetry, A Field Guide to Reading and Writing Poems by Frances Mays. I was just like, hey, handbook for poetry writing, and this came up. I was like, yeah, sure, let's give it a go. I did not expect it to be quite as long as it is, but hey, you know. So I'm like really trying to be a poetry person and to understand poetry, to read it and teach it, as well as to write it. So I figured this would be a good place to go. And then the final one I have is my Fairy Tale Friday read for July. This is The Shadow in the Glass by J.J.A. Harwood. This is a gothic retelling of Cinderella, and I am so excited for it. I picked it up basically as a cover buy. I guess it was last year, and then just never got to it. But I'm excited for it. Gothic plus fairy tale retelling, you've got me. You sold. So hopefully I'll really enjoy this. This will be one that is in video format, so be on the lookout for that in July. So that is everything on my July TBR. It is a very, very ambitious TBR. Do I think I'll get to all of it? Probably not. But I've read quite a bit in June so far, and the month's not over yet, so I'm hoping that I will be just as inclined to read in July as I have been this month. Let me know down in the comments below, have you read any of these? What did you think? Are you participating in Jane Austen July? What are you planning to read for the month of July? It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.